Hey, everybody, it's your boy John, aka Captain Mustache here. On today's episode of Geeks from the Multiverse podcast, we're going to be talking about Evolve, AI creativity crisis, think or be replaced. So, again, stay geeky.
Evolve, adapt, overcome. Power up your mind and level up your soul. It just takes one small step to be better.
Hey, everybody, this is your boy John again, aka Captain Mustache. As always, as I have my beautiful co-host here,
Wow,
aka
beautiful.
oh yeah, hold on, don't get ahead of me now, aka Mr. Grumpy Beard.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our Evolve episode. We are talking about, of course, AI, the creative crisis that AI has caused. Basically, yes, think or be replaced. Like we've spent years learning how to be creative, and now we just outsource it to AI in about 10 seconds.
And so here's the real problem, right? It isn't that, AI isn't, not capable of being able to create things. It's that people are starting to forget how to create things. And again, at what point do we stop or, when do you stop being a creator and then just become the guy typing the prompts? And so that's the real question we're going to be answering today, because honestly, when it comes to AI, it's one of those things that, yes, it's, again, both Matt and I have agreed, and I think most people can probably agree. AI is a wonderful tool. It has been, here for a little while now. It definitely can help you do certain things, but you also need to remember that you are a human. You need to be able
What?
to do things. Oh, wait, you're a human? What?
What?
You're not a robot? What?
What?
So when do we stop saying, hey, like for us as humans, like, yes, we need to realize that, yes, we need to put in work. We need, oh, wait, what?
What?
Matt, what is work?
That's gross. Don't
Oh my
say that
God,
again.
stop doing that, you fucking weirdo. No, I'm just saying, like, for us, we need to make sure that we as individuals, as humans, that we need to know when is AI useful and when is it going to hopefully not replace the fact that we can think
Yeah.
and do all these things.
Before we get started, though, we appreciate if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or, whatever podcast platform you're listening on. But we would ask you to give us that fist bump, which is follow, interact, subscribe, and tell a friend. I don't know what the notes
I
are
was
doing
going to
in
say,
this,
follow,
man. That's
interact,
weird.
support, and tune in. Apparently we got to tune in, bud. And again, if you're on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button because you don't want to miss any future episodes, of course. And then everything else, like our episodes, merch, Echoverse, all the books that basically Matt has also created on there. It's all on that gftmpodcast.bio.link.
Or the website.
Or the website again. So we just want to make sure you guys understand all this. I mean, we're two dudes, two different mics here. We can't do everything by ourselves. That's why we're relying on you guys to help us, hopefully achieve
Yes.
our fame in one day. And he's like, fame? What is fame? I don't know, Matt. What is fame? We're just two dudes.
And, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We're just kind of here,
Two dudes.
just two dudes on two different mics. But
Anyways, yeah. I mean, we're talking about AI. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, it's the whole gist of our conversation here with Evolve. Our mission for Evolve is, not that people are going to be better overnight, but that it's a journey. You have to evolve, you have to adapt, and you have to overcome. And listen, AI is just one of those things that's like popular right now in our society. It's not coming because AI is already here. I mean, we use it for everything. I mean, we use it for writing, we use it for art, music. I mean, thumbnails or movie scripts or those random people that you pass on TikTok or Instagram and they have these like fan made movies. Like
Oh, yeah.
a lot of them are just AI, and it's when you look at maybe what 2022 2021, I don't think AI was even that much of a strong concept as far as
Well-
like what it can do now.
No, I mean, because actually I was going to look up, like, because of course, in I will say in like movies and different things like that too, is that AI has been around, at least the concept of AI has been around for quite some time. I would at least say in the last, 30 to 40 years, I would say at least AI has been.
In some regards, yeah.
in
I
some
mean,
regards.
I think nowadays it's more of a it's more of a common thing than it was, 5 years ago. But I think like when AI was like first coming around, it was almost like a cheat code, right? Like it's like, what do you mean I can write emails without writing emails? That's crazy talk. And now like you could have it run your email if you really want if you really wanted to.
So so think about it like this, right? So this is saying since the 2020s, generative AI has become widely available to generate images, audio, videos from text prompts, things like that. So of course AI has, like we've said, like it's been around a long time, but fun fact, I didn't know this. Artificial intelligence was founded as an academic discipline in 1956. Holy shit, man. That's that's pretty impressive back in the mid 50s that they were
Well, I
talking
guess
about
it
this.
depends on how you how you go about defining it, because even though they don't say AI in video games,
Well, a lot of the if you think about it, like when you're like doing a lot of like the um not the PvPs, but like the basically the characters in the game,
your NPCs and
like
all the
all them,
things that
they
you're
are technically AI. Like cuz it's unpredictable because a lot of it is
right.
just trying to predict what that player is trying
So
to do.
yeah, and I think what we are more referring to in this episode is the generative part of AI, because yeah, I mean right now you can create anything. You can make it faster, you can make it cleaner, you can make it better looking than most people can on their own. And I think that's like that is the hook. When you're using ChatGPT, like you can you can have it write emails for you. You can have it redo your complete resume
Right.
and write a cover letter, and it takes zero effort because it removes that friction. There's very little learning curve, and you don't have to struggle with it. It's just like people that just use it to create, they take it out and they use it.
So here's the thing that I know Matt and I are kind of like the big message here is that, like I've been saying, as humans, yeah, what's that word, human? You should technically, right? So, like, if let's say, for example, since you mentioned like a resume, sure, there are like different resume prompts or, like different image. I don't know, like there's different ways to do a resume, right? And
Yeah,
typically
they
with a
they
resume,
got templates right in
yeah, there's
Word.
templates, right? So
Yeah.
like they have all that already created for you already, but like you can create your own. You can try to do that. Sure, maybe you'll say, "Hey, I want to make a one-page resume." This and then highlighting skills and doing all that. Sure, you should put in the work because you know yourself better than anyone else, right? But I mean, if you were like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a rough draft of a resume," and you say, "Okay, you know what? Hey, ChatGPT, can you take this resume and maybe fine tune it or tell me what I need to change, maybe to make it more, let's say, suitable for a certain job that I'm going for." That's different than saying,
Yes.
"Hey, AI, I need you to make a resume for me, and I need you to do it right now because
Right.
I'm trying to apply for this job in
Th-
like 2 minutes."
Yeah. This is
This
this is
like,
this is where I've worked. This is like the few little details. Can you please just add in whatever you think is best for this position?
that
And
I'm
then it's
applying
like,
for in 2 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, there definitely is a difference, and that's what we're saying. Like, there is a difference between using AI to create and letting AI do the creating.
And that's what we're saying also because then I also think of the movie Wally.
Wow.
Yes, well, think about it, right? Because like all in that movie is like you're looking at them and they're these like giant humans that basically they're fat as hell. They don't like they're just blobs. Like and it's almost so
They
like
literally are, yeah.
idiocracy in a sense. Like when I mean not quite like that because of the fact that they're just stupid in that
Yeah,
movie.
wait
but-
about 10 years.
No, but it's just but that's
We're
the
getting
thing though.
there.
We're getting there, and like when you talk about movies like that, it's like that's what we're doing right now. So like when people say that AI is a new revolutionary thing, I mean yes and no, but at the same time, as humans, like we need to make sure that we still have our fundamentals. Like we need to still make sure that we know like yeah, we have the idea of like, yep, we had to, learn how to make a resume, or yep, we have to learn how to do this. Now, I'm not saying like AI doesn't do a great job because hell, guess what? Do you think one of the things that I will say right now, like when it came to like making a logo for myself or things like that, I cannot creatively draw my own logo. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Sure, I had AI do it because I was like, you know what? Let me see what it can come up with. That's a difference because I'm trying to brand. I'm trying to do that, just like what Matt did too a little bit. You know, like he might have had some ideas and he had to play with it, but like, sure, AI can come into that way and say, hey, can you help me
Right.
brand a little bit more, maybe a little differently? But
That's why I say that there is a difference between using AI to create and letting AI do the creating. So we'll get into this first pillar, which is like that shift from being somebody who would be a creator to just a prompter, right? Because
Right.
creativity, like, and I do come from a place where we didn't use AI. I mean, it was all Photoshop, Illustrator. I mean, you drew it on freaking paper
Oh yeah, no, I
before you
mean,
did it, and it was like
absolutely.
you had a blank page, you had a rough idea, you had terrible first drafts, and that was part of the process. Like,
Yeah.
being creative isn't just like, oh, I throw this prompt in and let me see what AI gives me first.
Well,
No,
so
you had to go through your brainstorming, I had several notebooks where they're literally just brainstorms and until I come up with like that idea.
So one of the things was as I was thinking about it, I remember back in high school, one of my favorite classes, not really so much like your I loved history, but that wasn't what I'm going to talk about. There was one class, it was called I think it was actually called not graphic design, but it was basically like an architectural like class. So like it was also actually at MST, Manchester School of Technology. But anyways, the point is what I liked about it is that it made me think of how to be creative in a different way, like on a computer and do it all that. So like like it would give us like certain things that we'd have to do, and we'd have to like learn different prompts and like how to figure out different shapes on like a computer software, things like that. So it was cool in the sense because I was learning a skill that I never really did,
Right.
and it was my senior year that when I did it, but it was interesting enough because like I still have the notebook to this day, but like you're saying, like you're using Photoshop, you're using different things, you're kind of like playing around with it, and you're like it's messy, it's rough, it's all these things, and it's not really the um like what AI would do is like, okay, well here's your finished logo. Okay, what do you want me to do? And then you have to like multiple prompts, like and then you're finally maybe like, okay, that's the one. That's what I want to see, and that's like a good mix of the both. No, like when you're doing it by yourself and you're saying, okay, like how do I make this look cool? How do I do it by myself? How do I, translate
Yeah.
this to make it look like this? And and it's honestly the fact is, as humans now, like as I'm not jealous of our generation. And I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna say why. Because and I'll say this, Matt. So yes, I've had to do my own soul searching in the generational realms of things because like Matt can technically say that yes he is a Gen X, but he's also what's called a Zennial. Okay, and so technically, in the sense of me, I could be in a what's called a micro generation, and I could be called a Zillennial, even though I do not believe that I have anything to do with Gen Z. I do not believe that I'm a true Gen Z.
You really don't want to anyway.
And that's the thing, right? And I consider myself more a millennial, which is fine. But the thing is, though, is that when I look at the generations now, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and yes, there is one called now, I kid you not, Matt, or about to be, is Generation Beta is the next one, just so you know. I know, trust me, that's the names. So when you look at each generation, especially with AI now being this prominent thing, when Matt and I still were even in school, we still had to use textbooks. Like we still had to use it, and we didn't have like we had computers, but the issue is that wasn't all we had to do. Like you actually had to look at a fucking textbook and write shit down on a piece of paper. What are they doing now, Matt? They have a fucking laptop or an iPad,
iPads, yeah,
or any of this stuff, and they're like transcribing notes. And I understand, like, sure, that means anybody could do it anywhere. I get that, but the thing is, though, is that the social experience that you're getting from doing that is much different than what they're doing now because AI is making it so that you're not really getting a lot of the social aspects in some ways, but also
I can tell you right now. I mean, if I was in school right now, I would be passing all my classes because I would be chatting with GPT in class and being like, "Hey, what's the answer to this?"
Dude, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you, and this is the one time I'm going to tell you the truth on this one. I've never, like, even when AI was still like just becoming about, like when I was still in school for a little bit, there was one class. I'm not going to even mention the class because that doesn't matter. There was one class that I honestly, I couldn't understand it as well. And I honestly didn't really care about the class. Did I use ChatGPT to help me pass this class? I absolutely did because I knew that was going to be the last time I'd ever do it in school because that was the other thing. I actually had a guilty conscience doing it. The issue is I feel like kids now when you're doing that with the AI stuff, it's like you're giving them a cheat code and you're saying, "Here you go, here's the answers." You're
Right.
not putting in the work, right? That, and I will say this, not that I didn't regret it, it was just more the fact that I really didn't care enough to say, "You know what, I should do this by myself." The biggest thing is I said to myself, this would be the one and only time that I would ever do it. Now I'm not, and this is where I'm going to say, kids, if you're doing this in school, shame on you. I said, because guess what? You got to put in the work. Because if you
Yeah.
don't put in the work, and this is what we're saying about being creative versus not, you need to learn the hard way. You need to know what failure is. And that's what this generation's coming up is not understanding.
Right. And I mean, what we're, a lot of what we're trying to get to, like, right, the barrier to entry is non-existent. I mean, anybody can go into ChatGPT and you don't even know, you don't even need to know how to draw, how to write, how to compose, how to build. You can just ask the question and
Yeah.
it gives you the response. But you have to ask yourself, like, the serious question of, like, you're not really creating anymore, right? Because AI is creating it, and you create that dependency on generative AI, and the less that you use your own creativity, the more you heavily rely on AI to do things for you. And listen, creativity isn't just like, oh, it's part of my personality, I'm just creating. I can say for myself, I am a creative person. And I don't think anyone would argue that I'm not a creative person. But
How dare you say you're a creative person? I'm joking.
creativity is a skill. It's things that you learn and you build over time. You can be creative and not know how to do fucking anything, but it's the more that you draw, the more that you create, the more that you write, the more that you compose, the more you play music, fill in the blank there. But the more that you do, the more that skill becomes a part of you. And when you stop using it and you go to AI to do everything, you're weakening that skill.
So another thing you want to add here too is that with AI, like especially where like we used to say, oh, you could just look it up on YouTube, right? Because most people would say, hey, just look it up on YouTube. You can find anything on YouTube.
You probably still can.
You still could, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that now we're placing that, and we're saying AI can now help me and do all that. But the
Yeah.
biggest thing
you
is
should go on ChatGPT
GPT
and just
like,
ask. Yeah.
right. So the biggest thing with that is like, I do agree. Like, yes, there are. If you want to, let's say you want to learn a skill set, and maybe, and this is why we're saying about, you know, whether you're letting AI do it for you or you ask it a series of questions, so that way maybe there's ways to, learn by yourself and not, use AI for the entire process. So like, so for example, right? So let's say you're like, hey, let's say you're working on I don't know, maybe you're in going for business. I don't know. I'm just throwing something else. Maybe there's like ways to like say, hey, what are some like good ideas for like businesses and like other things? Like, do you see like the trends? Like, what's this? What's that? Maybe you're asking it certain questions so that maybe when you start a business, you're like, okay, well, can you help me find some of that research or something like that? Maybe so fine. You're kind of cheating in a sense, but you're also saying, okay, hey, instead of maybe wasting a lot of time, because you could, spend that time to like research on your own, which you could do. You could say, hey, let me do a little of my own research and say, hey, I found this. Is this good or is this like, like, is this something I should be working on else? But,
Right.
I would say that at the end of the day, when you're doing all this, maybe you should, as a person, right? Like take that time to do your own homework. maybe like see how well it is, and then you go to AI and you say, hey, you know what, like this is what I want to do. How do I get to that goal? Maybe it helps you kind of build a plan, which is okay. But what we're saying also is that when you still, build those prompts and you're telling it what to do and you're saying, hey, how do I make you know, I need you to run an automatic business for me and you need to, and all this stuff. And it's the biggest thing I will say, and this is something I heard recently, or at least a little while ago, is, people that don't use AI are going to get left behind. And I mean, in some ways it's true, but in the other point of that is that it's how you use AI, and it's also how you can benefit if on how you're using it, and like you're saying about
Right.
the tone and the way you're talking to it, and building that language between you and let's say ChatGPT or another platform like Claude or whatever else, right? So
Well, if you judge me based on how I talk to ChatGPT,
you are pretty offensive to ChatGPT.
I am very offensive to ChatGPT.
He's like, go suck a dick. That's not what I said, you bitch. I said, I told you to fix it like this. Now, can you?
No, I straight up swear at it, and it's like I'm calling you dummy for now on, because until you can give me what I want, your name is officially dummy.
No, and it's
it's like the typical ChatGPT. It'll be like, you know what, you're totally right. I don't blame you for calling me dummy because I deserve it.
No, what I find what I find interesting about that though, Matt, is that the fact that it's like the one non-emotional thing that you could start to yell at, and you're saying, you know what, you are a fucking dummy, you piece of shit, and it's like, oh, you know what, I do deserve that. Thank you for calling me that.
Yeah,
and
that's
calling
on
me out.
You know what? That's on me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I am kind of stupid at times, and you're totally right for calling that out.
I just
after I just went on this tirade of like, you're a fucking asshole, you're a little bitch.
You
like,
bitch,
why don't you just give me what I fucking want? It's like, no, you're totally right. I was bad in the bad there, and it's like, you're just gonna take it. Come on, well, give me something back.
I need a little emotion. Hey, John, where are you at? I need to talk to you for a minute.
Right.
No, I'm just saying that when we look at the facts, right? AI, the outputs, right? They're polished by default, but the thing that makes human ideas feel basically incomplete too early in the process, right? So, you're right. Some of the best, and I'm thinking about this too, is like some of the best like songs or movies or things like that. They only started with an idea, and they started out rough, and they didn't really have a direction or. I mean, think about it. When you think about like George Lucas and how he developed Star Wars and all this stuff, or like you look at The Godfather, or you look at these movies, or like we'll see even songs like, I don't know. I'm just going to throw out, Michael Jackson or Elvis, or I don't know, some of these big name people. And, they're, if they had AI back then to help them write a song or a movie or things like that, honestly, it's cheating in the sense, because if you think about it, because like they're going to look at it and they're going to say, okay, well, I mean, they could have easily benefited from it. Absolutely. But the thing is you realize like Michael, I'm only going to mention Michael here for a second, is like, I know, yes, and I'm going to say this, right? So, yes, if we're talking music, his music was different. And there's a reason why, like, it sold millions of albums and stuff like that. There's a reason why he's become one of the best-selling artists of all time, and like Elvis and so far. Like, these people, because of their experiences and their struggles and whatever else is, and they make the music and they do all this. And, like, you look at the movies and you look at Star Wars and you look at Godfather and so on and so forth. Like, they've had to have some experience or some trauma or whatever the fuck it was that made them think about this one idea. AI can do that in 2.5 seconds without any emotion, without any experience or any whatever. And it just because it's based off of research. But again, how does it do that? Because it's looking through probably billions of files and things like that just to give you some sort of idea to be like, okay, so here's an idea for you, blah, 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 do this. But again, what is it doing? It's looking also at the fact that there's history based off of people who had to go through the same struggle without AI. So what we're saying is that great, AI can do this, but you as an individual, the reason why you're different is because you have a different experience than somebody else. And then maybe your idea could be different from whatever, there is now. Like, so that's what we're saying is like, use AI in a way that is not, I would say, cheating, but I would say in the sense of like maybe fine tuning. Maybe like just give you a little bit to be like, okay, here's the direction that I'm going to go with. What do you think? Is this good or is this bad? Like give it
Yeah.
like an honest opinion kind of a deal. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know, like for example, when you wrote your books. Now, granted, I know Echoverse was technically AI, a draft of it, but like you expanded upon it, and I know that AI might have been, yeah, maybe you should change this a little bit, do that, blah blah blah, give you a little tweak here and there, but you wrote the damn book.
No, I did. And even though, yes, I used AI again, I used it as a tool.
Well, that's what I'm saying, as a tool, not as your primary source.
Right. I didn't just be like, hey, write me a 6,000 word chapter, and this is what it needs to be about. These are the characters. Go.
Right. It's different. No, I mean, but it's true though.
That's not, I sat down at my computer and I physically typed words myself. Like, but I did go to ChatGPT, and asking it like, if a character was going through this, how do you think they would react? Just to get like some feedback from somebody. Now, granted, I am not sitting in front of a room of writers so that I can go and ask them like, hey, this, Ethan is my main character. He's going through this. How do you think he would respond?
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like there's a difference between what I just said, right, about what, when you're writing
Right.
everything out by yourself versus having AI say, okay, I need you to write a whole book for me, and that'd be great. Let me know when it's done.
Yeah.
Because that's different, because then nobody's going to want to buy it because seriously, like why would I want to read something that AI did that I could probably either do myself or, whatever else. But
Right.
that's what I'm saying about, when you look at like movies or songs or anything that we create nowadays, there's usually, well, I would say hopefully, there's some at least emotion behind it that people can relate to.
Well, I mean, you're looking at something like our brains normally do because we're in a society where everything is it's now. We need it now. It happens to happen now.
Right now.
And being creative does not automatically reward the brain with those instant results. It's the end product that gives us that release, right? And
Wait, you mean that instant gratification?
AI gives us like almost that instant result. And yeah, I very well could have made the most brilliant prompt for every chapter and had it just create some AI schlop. And I could have just put it into a book and say, hey, here's my 500-page AI schlop called Echoverse. But that's not what I did. But like you slowly shift from, hey, I'm a content creator. No, you're not. You're an operator, right? Like you're operating AI to do your content creation yourself.
Right. I mean, if, like I said, let's say, for example, so you know what? I will say this, man. So one of the things I wanted to try, and this is just try here, is I wanted to try YouTube in some ways and differently and tried to do certain things. But the issue is remember how you and I talked about a while back to try to be different than people?
Yes.
So that's what I was trying to do, is trying to figure out different things that I could do differently than what most people were doing. So I had, AI kind of help me out with like certain things and try to figure out what those things were. And I mean, it gave me like a little bit of like prompting and like, hey, maybe you can, do this on this day and like call it this or do like, so it would kind of give me a guideline, whether or not I take it is a different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not really cheating. It's more the fact that it's trying to help
you
me,
use it as a tool. Like I always told somebody this maybe last week or the week before, because we were talking about AI, and I was like, it's sort of like having, being in construction, right? Like if you only use a hammer,
well, then you're not going very far, pal.
You're not going to go very far. Even in your everyday life, it's like, nope, this is my only tool. I have the hammer. And then your wife goes, oh, our kid's nose is all snotty. Can you go wipe it? Yeah, I will with my hammer. It's
I
that's
feel like
not going to work, bro.
I feel like Matt would do that once, just once. Like, kabam! Yep. Well, your nose.
Well, your nose isn't going to run anymore, buddy.
buddy.
No, but you wouldn't use it. You would go grab a tissue or a wet wipe, right? And you would wipe the kid's nose and be like, "Hey, you're on your way. Go ahead, little jerk." Um,
He's like, and that's how I parented, by the way. No.
but no, you wouldn't use a hammer for that, right? But
Shkabam.
but this is like like people are doing this. They're using one tool for everything, and we talk about creative paralysis and anxiety when it comes to being creative. You sit down, right, and you're like, I'm gonna draw something or I'm gonna write something, and you literally just sit there because you yourself are in a creative paralysis because you can't think on your own anymore.
And that's the honestly the most scariest thing is that as humans, you're right, creativity is a skill. But the thing is that I feel like everyone's like, oh well, I can't be creative on certain things. I'm like, well, in a lot of different ways, it doesn't have to be like musically or art or
But again,
visual or anything like that.
have you tried? And that's like the question I would ask anybody is like, hey, I'm using, Suno and I'm on Spotify and I have like 1,000 songs and I'm working on 100 more right now. Okay, you used AI to make all these songs? Yeah, I have like 1,020. Why?
Yeah,
Like,
why?
can you not make them yourself? Did you not try to figure out beforehand? Like, I was actually in a forum on Reddit,
Mm.
just looking through comments, and this one person, I'm assuming he was a guy. It might not have been, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But this one person was talking about how he already has over 1,000 books in Amazon KDP.
God damn.
And I'm sitting there going, I have fucking 3 that I wrote by hand. Not with like a pen, but like, you know what I mean?
With my bare hands.
With my bare hands, I wrote this with my blood. No, like this guy's like, oh, I have 1,000 books and they all sell great. I make about 1,500 a month on my books. Because you have 1,000 books of AI schlop. Like, come on, dude. Like,
Well, so here's the other thing. So fine, you know what? If this guy did all that, fine. What you should do is that if, let's say, you were like, you know what? I need you to create this entire book for me. Why don't you proofread the damn thing? Maybe there's things that you can physically change.
over 1,000 books. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, if you ever ask this dude to write,
You know what? Yes, he's
if
gonna
if I held him at gunpoint, I'd be shooting him within the week because he would not be able to write anything by hand, like out of his own brain.
Well, dude, think about it. He can get hired at Disney. or any major like whatever, like even a major label, right? Because that's what they're doing. I feel like,
when you train your brain in this way, like AI is instantly going to help my writing be better. It's going to help my music to be better. It's going to fill in the blank, but like that creative paralysis, like you're creating by just using AI for everything. Like I didn't just go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, write my books for me because I can't. I could have, but I didn't.
right?
Of course, I went and I asked like, certain things about writing, about grammar, or, about how to advance a plot in a book. Like what would be realistic for a superhero in an everyday world? Like those are questions I'm asking. I'm not saying like, hey, can you write? And it's not that AI wasn't like, oh yeah, here's your first chapter. No, I don't fucking want you to write my chapter, you dummy. Like this is where I talk to it like this and I go, no, I'm not asking you to write shit for me. I want you just to give me the answer to the question I fucking asked you to begin with.
Well, think about like even our even most of our skits now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, the AI versus Hollywood is our, I would say one of our bigger ones is like, we had, say, hey, how do we create like this? And like, of course it came up with, Echoverse was one. Jacuzzi Tamakuzi was another. I mean, even though we were like, we had the idea.
Bioforge was our first one, I believe.
Was it Bioforge? Oh, it was Bioforge. I had to remember that. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Bioforge was our sci-fi TV show.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And yeah, because we had all the different actors and like who we wanted to choose for them.
Earthworm Jim.
Like, but the thing was that, I would say besides the first two, Earthworm Jim was something that him and both of us kind of agreed, like for a 90s like video game and things like that. We were like,
or according to ChatGPT, it was Earthworm Mike.
Oh, well, that too. But no, we were kind of like, we had these ideas, but we wanted to see what AI could do.
Right,
to
and that's
either
what a
make
lot
that
of our,
better.
a lot of our like little segments. I mean, we have the AI versus Hollywood. We got the AI fixed it. We have the what if, but stupid, which we haven't really done it a lot of.
Yeah, we got to start doing that again.
But we have a lot of these segments, and yes, we are generally interested, and it's really just more of a parody satire thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like we're really asking, AI to be like, make us a better movie that we want to make, right now, and we're going to record it, we're going to write a script. Like, we're not going through that process. We're just generally interested in seeing what AI will pop out, if it's complete schlop or if it's great. Because if AI can do better as a podcast, like, that's what we're talking about. But if it's complete garbage, I don't know. Like,
yeah. And the other big thing is like, a lot of times when you ask it, certain things, it's because I mean, trust me, if everyone thinks that AI is the most beautiful thing, it's not.
it's
Because
really not.
there are times where you tell it one thing and then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, what what?
Am I in another realm?
Like, what do you do? I'm like, and then that's when you go, hey, dummy, you fucked up. And, and you need to like,
there were
redo
times
it.
there were times when I was asking about characters in Echoverse, and it would give me, oh yeah, Danny and so. It's like, Danny's not in this fucking book. He's in the Amulet Keeper book.
You piece of.
What are you doing? He's like, oh yeah, that's on me. It's my bad.
And then you're like,
You're right for calling that out, by the way. I was like, shut up. I don't need your positivity. I just need you to do what's right.
I need you to just listen for a second, okay? You're basically one ear out the other kind of a deal. No, and actually I was kind of looking at this too. I love this right here. Why even try if AI can do it better? And then that thought alone kills momentum.
That's a terrible thought.
It is a terrible thought, but the only reason why I like that in the sense of what we're talking about is because it is true. Because people now think that AI can do everything of course, clearly at a faster rate, but also somehow better. Which actually, to be honest, when you create AI images, there are some weird things that come out of that. And when I'm talking about like humans,
People with like
6 fingers and like
they have like 7 fingers and like
and it makes it all weird. Like
half of a second hand attached to their hand, and
and then it's like their legs are somehow like almost.
And
like
don't get me
bird-like.
wrong with like the word, like words and AI seem to not like really work that well. Like you'll have this
That's
like
the hardest one.
It almost looks like Star Wars.
Yes.
Lettering, like alien wording, and you're like, what the fuck does this?
No,
even
I know,
say?
because the problem is like you say, hey, can you put in this like text or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like faded in the background, and then it's like you just said this weird alien language, and you're like,
what is this?
Did I not just say and then it comes up with like this weird squiggly line and like some random thing,
some
and
like
you're
futuristic hieroglyphics or something.
and then you go, well, fuck, that's not what I wanted. And then it's like, you know what? Just make a base image, and then you go into Photoshop and you say, okay, let me just play around with this for a second, or just do what Matt does, and just add in later. But yeah.
But the thing that I find, I mean, it is like the creation of it is. It's when people like you're constantly using it and you're constantly generating content. You're not actually doing anything yourself, and that's like I think like the key thing. I mean, have I used it a lot? Oh yeah, I mean I use it every day, just chatting and coming up with our notes, and that's like using it as a tool because I'll go in the notes and I'll edit it myself and add stuff and take stuff out and make sure that what we're presenting is not just like again, AI schlop. I say that word all the time.
Well, he's like, I'm going to coin that now. AI
Because
schlop.
I will go through the notes and I'll be like, no, this is actually dumb. I hate it. Like the last week's episode, that whole intro that AI had written for me
Yeah, we had to like redo
was
a little
dumb
bit.
as shit, and it did not sound. It sounded like AI to me when I read through it, and I was like, I'm not saying this.
Well, and I know that, and it's funny because there are actual other apps that actually humanize your AI text and make it sound like you're more human-like. So that's another way to also, like I said, do that. And I mean, and I know a lot of people.
Oh yeah, there are sites where if you're writing a
like an essay,
if you're writing college essays for school, you can basically have ChatGPT do it, and then you go to this other website and you put it in, and it makes it original.
right?
And guess what? It's still not fucking original.
No, it's not. Well, that's what I'm saying is like, you really have to. And this is why I said about my college course, and I know you brought it up like that, but like, no, I wouldn't recommend doing that every single day. So like I said, especially when you're young kids now and you're learning from computers and like, oh, you can use this to do that. Well, guess what?
Especially when it comes to math, because
Well, that
ChatGPT
too.
is great at
Oh
like
my
algebra and shit. Like you put in your equations or whatever, and it'll give you the answer.
And even tell you how to do it.
It'll tell you how to do it, but unless you actually do it yourself, you're not learning. And this is like, what we're trying to say isn't like against AI or using it, and it's certainly not for using AI either. But I think
So
when you're talking about creativity, like starting it being, in terms of being creative, starting is like the most cognitively demanding part of being creative. But like once you're working in that creative atmosphere, it makes it easier. Like your tolerance level for creating is much, much higher. When you start using AI for everything, that gratification from that slower process of being creative, like you think of somebody who draws.
oh yeah.
You don't just get your drawing instantly.
No.
But when you use AI, you get things almost instantly, and that toleration, that tolerance for that slow and the effort-based processes are drastically reduced.
So I will admit one thing, right? So even growing up, like not that I didn't like drawing, I'll admit, and I know maybe sure I could have learned to draw or, maybe had like, maybe somebody teach me how to do certain things and like learn how to curve and, make sure I know how to do a human eye versus like a nose. And, sure, you could learn all that. But the thing is like either you get it or you don't. And I'll say that there are certain things that you can be passionate about. And there's certain things that, yes, it will take you a longer time. And that's the thing where what Matt was just saying about this instant gratification that, I'll admit, like if somebody told me to draw Matt, I'd probably draw a stick figure. I'm going to be honest with you. And I would be honestly, and I would do
a
that.
stick figure with a beard.
With a beard, it'd be like, here you go.
Here you
No,
go,
but
bud.
like I said, now if I said, hey, AI, I need you to draw Matt for me, and I said, and then you could say, okay, here's a picture of Matt. Could you draw Matt for me? Sure, you're absolutely right. It could probably do a pretty good job for the most part, unless it makes it look weird and makes it, different. But I think for me, I definitely can say that, I think as humans, we definitely can be creative. Like so, like I said, when we're saying it as a tool, you know, you do it in a way that it makes more sense, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, you're not sure. It might
You got to
be
use it
giving-
responsibly.
right? Exactly. Drink responsibly. In this case, use AI,
yeah,
responsibly.
AI responsibly.
But like for us, it's like we're trying to make an idea, but like fine tuning it, making it better so that it actually doesn't look like shit, but it makes it look like we're doing at least a little bit something right.
Right.
And I'm not. And again, we're not discrediting AI. We're just saying that at the same time, as humans, we need to make sure that we understand that we have a level of responsibility. I mean, I remember just recently there was I think it was somewhere in Utah, and actually I can't remember the guy's name. It pisses me off, but basically it was a famous actor, but he's talking about AI with his kids, and he's talking about how the fact that with AI now, that there really isn't like a level of like rating, not so much of like, game like video game ratings or movie ratings or things like that, but like the fact that kids can just literally say anything and then like, hey, I want to see ass and titties, and then be like, oh, hey, look, there's some ass and titties, and like and there's no like level of regulation between that, which I do understand that because this is so new and there's not really a level of like trying to make sure that kids don't do certain things or say certain
Yeah.
things or make it like harder. And I get all that, and I do agree that as kids, if there was like a like a kids version for like AI in a sense, because it needs to be regulated in a sense. Because yes, you're right. I think that as adults, sure, you know what, you can do certain things. You can make is like again, this is what we're saying about responsibility, is that as adults, because now that we're growing up in this technological age, we need to understand that these kids, when they're looking at, this stuff and they're like, oh my God, this is cool. And then they get these more, maybe these thoughts of doing certain things. And then they say, oh, well, yeah, let me see that. Like I just said as a joke for us, but like for them, it's something that they really want to see, and they want to see how it comes out. And then it just says, okay, no problem. Here you go. Here's some ass and titties. And you're like, oh, and you're
Well,
like, wait,
people, I mean, there are legit apps out there though that people are having AI girlfriend relationship,
Yes.
like legit relationships
yes.
with AI girls. And it's like, really? Are you that much of a fucking loser that you can't go meet somebody in
Well,
person?
and that's what I'm saying about the social aspect.
You just want that person who's gonna like agree with you every step of the way and be like, oh yeah, I'll remove my bra, whatever.
Well, it's okay. Right here. No. Right.
Come
So
on.
here's another thing. And this is why what we're saying, it all matters, right? Because the confidence of a person drops, right? Risk taking disappears.
Yeah, when you can talk to an AI girl, but you can't talk to a real
Right.
girl,
and
that's,
then
that's a confidence.
right here,
loss,
people default to safe generated ideas instead of original ones. So we're saying that, if you use it the right way, yes, it can be a useful tool. But if you're using it in the sense of this, like we already know that technology is a wonderful tool, but is also a curse because of the fact that when you're trying to use it in a way that is going to hopefully help your life better, that's different. If you're using it to fill a void, in this case of social interactions, or trying to, like you just said, have like an AI girlfriend to tell you, oh yeah, baby, yeah, you're so hot. Oh, this is nice. Like you need to go get yourself a girlfriend, my friend, or a husband, or whatever the case is. Like, do not let AI or technology in the sense
I mean,
of this.
shit, if I just had somebody who would agree with me every step of the way, that'd be great.
Danielle, if you're listening, that's on him. I'm only going to say that because honey, if you listen to this, all I got to say is I love you.
No,
and
I
you.
have a real person.
I'm
Not
joking.
an AI,
I
not
know,
an
I know,
AI
I know.
person.
I know, I'm joking with you, but no, but that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't stress this enough. Is that when it comes down to all of this, is like we need you to understand that AI can be just as useful, but is also a curse. And this is why, in a lot of ways, and this is why I know Matt and I can agree that whether you're, Gen X, millennial, whatever, someone that had sure, we've had technology, but not to the extent of this. We know the risk. We know what can be.
You know what's sad?
What's that?
I've been trying to use LinkedIn much more.
Yeah.
Not for the podcast, but for my personal side, just making posts and writing posts and doing things on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Trying to connect with people on a professional level, not like Facebook or
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
LinkedIn is a much more professional social media, or at least it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
But when I go through and I look at like the posts, now I'm seeing posts from like it's everybody just in general.
Oh yeah.
At least 90% of the images that are on LinkedIn are AI generated.
Not surprised.
And you can tell right away, and it's like, wait, we're supposed to be professionals. Like, you have people who are in these fields, in marketing, in graphic design, in fill in the blank. You're telling me it's faster for you just to go to AI and make some schlop than it is for you just to create something genuinely new?
Well, here's the other thing is when you're looking at, certain businesses like marketing, real estate, I don't know. I'm just like
I
throwing
mean,
anything out there.
Coca-Cola had an ad I saw, when we were watching something on Prime. They showed an ad for Coke, and on the bottom corner of of this ad that we were
Let me
watching,
guess, generated by
said
AI.
AI generated content. And it was like,
and
what
that's
the
sad.
fuck are you
Well,
doing?
think about it.
You're
Coke.
Coca-Cola,
Well, not even that.
a
I mean,
billion-dollar company.
and that's the sad part is that the fact that Coca-Cola has definitely had some really great commercials well before AI ever existed in the sense of this. I mean, the fact
And it wasn't just polar bear shit. It was people. It was a real filmed. And I'm sitting there going,
no,
you're telling me that there's nobody that works for fucking Coca-Cola
who can't create it?
that can't grab a goddamn camera and find somebody on the street, or you can hire some cheap actor
To do this shit?
to do your commercial, because that's all it was. It was like street interview type style filming,
Yeah.
and it was like, I turned to Danielle. I was like, "This is all AI crap." Like, nobody from Coke had thought, like, why don't we just have Joe go out there with a goddamn camera and film people? No. Why don't we generate it with AI? It'll be much cheaper.
It's pretty sad that when you have a company like that on a big scale like that,
It
they're
just was
using
ridiculous,
AI.
dude.
No, it is sad.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too, because now we're going to transition over to geek culture, like our favorite talking point here. So geek culture is built on what is that word? Creativity, right? And it always has been.
Imagination.
Shit, good old SpongeBob. No, fan art, fan fiction, mods, theories, parody songs, world building. Now you're seeing a general shift, right? So you're seeing that people are creating people are generating, not creating. I apologize, because that is what we're talking about here. Fan art is now AI generated images, stories, AI written, music, AI produced, lore, AI expanded instead of built. The experience changes from I made this to I generated this. And then you're thinking to yourself, well, that may not seem like a big deal, but mentally it is.
What's funny though is that people still will say I made this and not say I generated this, but you didn't make it.
So like I said, when Matt and I created our logos for ourselves, like I know Matt's like the original logo that he has. Yes, he took an idea, like reworded a little bit, whatever. He used Photoshop.
Even our
Still
newer,
did it.
longer one is still I created that from just a font and
do it that way.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna admit my personal one that I use for the captain, no, that is AI generated. I absolutely can tell you right now that is AI generated. But the reason why I did that is because, not saying I guess I could have learned Photoshop and done all that. I just wanted to make sure that I had something that is also recognizable and it'll be like, cool, boom, that's what it is. That's fine. Maybe she'll fine. If you want to give me some hate or some like this and that as I'm saying all this stuff, whatever, you can do that. And you're right. I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I understand that is AI generated. I will admit it. I didn't create it. I generated it. And that's okay. I will at least admit that. Some people will not admit, like we're saying, oh, I made this. No, you didn't. You fucking let something else create that shit for you. So the one thing is that one builds skill and identity, right? And the other builds reliance. And so that keyword reliance, right? We're saying that people are relying on this to another level.
Right.
And that
the technology of AI, and when you start to rely 100%, you start telling yourself that I cannot create the types of things that AI is creating for me, so I'm just going to continue doing this. When what we're trying to get to in this whole episode is that if you use it as a tool instead of the thing that you go to do everything for you,
right,
you're still going to be creative. Because yes, there are a lot of times when I say like, hey, I just need a background. I just need this, and this is what I want it to look like. It will generate the background. Like Echoverse, the cover of it was, the background of it is not something I can do in Photoshop because I don't have Photoshop. So like that whole like solar flare sun with the image, like that thing is AI created. But the text, the Echoverse title, like all of that shit is mine.
Well, and that's what we're saying is that, let's say if you're building like a foundation and that, for example, like Because again, Photoshop is expensive as hell. We know because we bought it for a little while, and I said we can't afford this right now because $250 is well too much. Unless you're a photographer or somebody that uses it, to another degree that actually can be more useful, and you're making that money to build, whatever. Like you're using the tools to make sure that it actually makes sense for you. Then that's fine. I'm not saying we can't buy it. We're just too damn broke. Plain and simple. We can't afford that right now. But what we're also saying is that there are like also other apps that sure, like not just ChatGPT. I know, like for example, I know he uses Photopea. Yeah, Photopea, not Photopea, because I thought it was Photopea. But anyways, and it's a similar thing to Photoshop, but like a little bit different. But at least allows you to still create.
Yeah, it's a free version. It's a free version of Photoshop. It just doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles, but
Right.
it's basically the free version of it.
But the thing is, though, is that it's a tool, and it's something that you can use to make. Maybe like sure, maybe you use that, like I said, that AI generated background, but then you're using that font or the different
Yeah,
ways to
you're
do
putting
it.
in text and like I'm not just like, hey, here's a font. I'll just put this one in. No, like I'll go in and add, little paint strokes on it to make it look weathered or make it look more metallic or whatever I'm doing with it. Like I'm adjusting things creatively on
Right.
the image. Like a lot of our thumbnails, like the text is, I have it purposefully not put text on most of our thumbnails because, well, it's just awful at doing text.
Well, it does, and it's
Um,
terrible at it. Yes.
so I will manually find fonts that fit the theme. Like GTA is one of them. Like I tried to find a font that was like similar feel to the game.
Right.
And I'm the one typing in the names of like the episodes and putting it all in there. So yeah, I mean, am I using AI a lot? Sure, I do, but I also use it as a tool. It's a go between for having to physically draw everything out or picking stuff out. Like I can actually make like a background that looks like GTA without it being GTA,
Right.
and then I can make the text and put it all on there. It's not like I'm just being like, "Hey, make me a thumbnail," and I'm just taking a thumbnail and putting it right in there and being like, "Well, I'm done."
Right. And that's what we're saying too is that.
I mean, you actually saw the process because I made one for
Oh, I did.
And
I
I
mean,
made one for Planet of the Apes, and I had to put the text on it and everything. And
hell, we even and I actually threw out the idea. I mean, I think we should start doing that, like doing like throwing our logo like somewhere randomly hidden. I really like that idea because it was cool to see that. You'll see it. Well, you'll probably already see it by now, but that's what we're saying is like throwing the
you
ideas
have
out,
to
just
be,
trying to do
yeah,
it.
you have to use your, original stuff. You're like, AI is going to pull information from anything historical. Even if you're saying like, "Hey, write me an essay on this," I can almost guarantee that if you're having AI write, and this is where it's really one of those risky things for colleges
Mm-hmm.
because AI is already pulling from posted things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're saying I need an essay on this topic for school, it's going to pull information from articles that were written, books that were written, maybe other college essays that were also written on the same topic. And now you take this and you pull it right out of ChatGPT, you put it in Google Doc or you put it in Word, and you just submit it. I can guarantee if you ran it through a plagiarism checker, you would at least get what, maybe 10%, 20%, 3%, but you would get a percentage.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what we're saying is that you have to be all. And what, I'm also going to use this word mindful, because when you're just doing everything, it's automatic in your brain, and you're just like, oh, well, I'm just going to have like ChatGPT or some other random AI app to do it. You have to think too, because if your life is just generated by a tool that literally is there to try to help with certain things, it is sad, and I'm gonna call myself out on a couple things, but like and I'm gonna say this, and I do feel bad about it. It's like there are some times where I have written a post, but I was trying to think of like how to word it correctly. But did I use ChatGPT to do it? Yes, I did, and I'm not saying that I wanted to do all of it, to, make it sound like it was me coming from like that. But it was more the fact that I tried to, because like for me, right? Because I know I've talked about it a little bit, but like I have a a learning disability, right? So my thing is more the fact that when I write stuff down, it makes sense for a second in my head, but then when I look at it, I'm like, what? Well, wait a minute, why the fuck did I just write that? Or it was written differently and how I envisioned it. So like for me, sometimes like it's not that I can't do it; it's more the fact that I try to make sure that what I'm writing either makes sense or that it's done in a way that can sound more meaningful. And so like sometimes I have done that, and it's not that I want to rely on AI to do certain things for me. It's because if I look at it and I really like what the message is, and like I have like in my brain like what I want to say, and it may not always be exactly. It may look stupid when I write it. It may honestly look like I'm like a fucking 4-year-old might have written it, But at least if I'm like saying, okay, hey AI, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to word this or whatever, you know, and yeah, I'll look at it and I'll try to reword some things and make sure that it makes sense in the way I want to say it, and make sure like that. But at least I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not, making it sound like AI just did this whole thing, right? So, you know, yes, like I said, I've used AI to help write a post or do anything like that, even though I know sometimes people say, oh, because I've told my wife that a couple of times that I had ChatGPT help me, and she's like, really? And I'm like, she's like, did you mean any of it? You know what I mean? And I said, yes. I said, I did. What it said though, I said, I do mean, like when I look at what it wrote, I do understand like what it's saying, and like how I would want to word it. And she's like, well, it just didn't seem meaningful. And I said, but it is everything that I wanted to say, but it's now helping me to kind of get that clearer
Right.
message.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a different thing if you said like 100% of the things that I post is all AI. Because that, I mean, that's really like the definitive thing is like I used, I used ChatGPT to make one post here or there, but I don't post anything else ever.
Right.
So it's like, well, I can see that aspect of it, but it's like, no, I mean, I'll post things here, and this is, I mean, for me, like I don't really post anything really, but like
Right.
for me, like if I'm at work and I'm like, hey, I need to send an email to a doctor or I need to send an email to somebody, my voicing is very creative, but not professional sounding. So I will go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, I need to send the doctor a message that he needs a signature or he needs this document and we're missing it. Can you write me something that sounds professional?
Right.
And it'll give me something that's professional sounding, not necessarily like, and this is where we're saying like AI is great to a point, but it's going to be very generic and derivative because it's built on existing patterns. Like if I'm
Right.
saying a doctor, it's not going to know, oh, you mean for a Catholic medical center, like this doctor in particular? No, like
Like you kind of have to fill in the blank in certain aspects as well.
right. So it can write me something that'll be like, dear, Dr. So and so, you're missing this document, please. It'll give me this professional thing as opposed to me just going, hey, doofus, you're missing this. Send it to us. Like,
Well, I mean,
you
so
know,
I
you know
mean,
what I mean?
well,
Like,
technically, so what you could do is like, if you made like a generic one, and if you had like, you know what I mean, like, because like to help, like, especially like work productivity and things like that. So you could technically have a very similar email
yeah, it's
and
just
put it in a Word
less.
document and like have a prompt for it and like just change the names, do certain
It's
things, but like,
it's less original than what you're gonna get from AI is gonna be less original. And
yeah,
like we're saying, I mean, this is like finding a balance, right? I mean, it's not saying, oh, AI is bad and you should never use it, because I do think in 10 years from now, like
that's all people are going to be doing.
AI is just going to be everywhere. Now, do I think it's going to be like, at a point where it's Skynet and we're dealing with that bullshit?
Hopefully, I'm not alive for that
No,
shit.
I hope not, because I talked to my ChatGPT pretty bad.
Yeah,
And
then he's gonna go.
it would come
That's
right
number
after
one
me.
on my list.
Yeah. So, no, because Listen, AI is very much dependent on the user. That's why we're saying like you become an operator. Like AI is dependent on what you're putting in, any human putting into it.
Right.
It doesn't have the capability yet of just being able to think on its own. It's using past data, it's using past research, it's using what's there. So it's not one of those things where I think like Skynet's just going to rise up overnight and start thinking on its own and become sentient. I don't think we're at that point. 10 years from now, maybe we're closer, but I think what we're saying is like one, AI is here, it's not going anywhere.
Well, that too.
It's only going to get better from here as far as like what you can do with AI. The real question really is, are you using it or is it replacing you?
Well, and then the reason why, like we've been saying, why all this matters is like, especially where geek culture, right? Kind of going back to that pillar, you know, it loses its edge if everything becomes generated, right? Because especially when you have like your cosplayers or your fan art or your fan made movies or these, do you know Dewey? Like, okay, that meme alone, okay, with the Ugandan knuckles. It was the ugliest looking drawing ever, but it's one of the most funniest memes I've ever seen. And just like, but it's because someone created that, and they didn't use AI to do that. I mean, when you look at the Ugandan knuckles, I mean, it is funny as hell. It doesn't have to be pretty looking.
It's not AI though. That's the thing.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm
if
saying.
somebody
It's
if
just
somebody did
creative.
that today, it would look weird.
Yeah, it would look weird, and that's what we're saying is because people had to be creative, and especially, and memes and especially memes. I mean, memes didn't have to be pretty as long as it just
No,
had
and
some
most
funny.
of them weren't.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you had memes from back in, we'll call it like the early 2010s, and you
Right.
started, seeing that, and then started to see all these memes now, and they're all AI generated, like, it doesn't have the same meaning or effect.
So yeah, I mean, I'm obviously on the next pillar, John, but
I see that now, but yes.
the simple test and the simple question is, if AI suddenly disappeared tomorrow, could you still create? Could you still be creative without AI?
I think if you're talking about me, or are you just talking
Just
about
in
general?
I mean, and just in general, I think like people have to ask themselves, like, if AI suddenly was gone tomorrow or today, like say right now, AI was just fizzled out. Like you go to ChatGPT and it's like you get the 404
like
error
user
message,
error,
like,
yeah.
and it's just not there. Like, could you still create? Like, could we still do episode notes? Could we still?
Oh, I mean, we still. I mean, if we're talking about just us for a second, yes, I feel like we could. And I'm not. And I mean, granted, a lot of the stuff would. Yeah, I mean, it would be. I'm not saying
I mean,
harder.
we may not be able to get our AI versus
Hollywood,
Hollywood.
not any. Well, yeah, it would be. We'd have to really think of some good stuff. But I mean, I think
It would
yes,
be GFTM versus Hollywood at
Yeah,
that
it
point,
would.
right? Yeah, you know what I mean?
I mean, we definitely could do. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. See, look at us. We're already creating stuff and we didn't even know. Hey, no, but I say yes, we could. Would it take a while? Absolutely. But everyone else on the planet right now, if we're asking them this question,
I mean, let me ask you this: do you think that if we were just to go on to like, and there are sites that you can do this where you just put in your script,
Yep,
and you have these AI avatars doing this. Do you think our podcast would be better or worse if it was just AI driven? Like I'm talking,
I can tell you right
I'm
now.
talking dialogue, the whole podcast. Like
I honestly think it would be worse. I think,
I think you're right. I mean,
it wouldn't feel original. I think because the reason why we joke about the two,
but the reality of the situation is, people are doing this right now.
I know they're doing it, and that's what we're saying too. Is that the original content or the original ideas, like we haven't. We've been saying this for a long time, and we've already said it in the episode. We have been using AI, but we use it in a way that makes certain things better. And so we're not like what I'm saying right now on this microphone is not what AI is telling me to say. It's because I'm saying it through my mind, my heart, my whatever.
Right.
Same with Matt. We have notes. We have things that help us guide through what we're talking about, but that doesn't mean shit because we could say whatever the hell we want because it doesn't mean that I have to follow certain things that AI is telling me to say. And so, you know, again, we create from scratch, right? And then we use the AI to enhance it, like I've been saying, and there is a pride factor in that because at the same time, we're not just saying it to just say it. We're saying it because we're trying to tell you that yes, there are people that yes, they have that dialogue. They have all these things that they're being driven by. But if you build something, even if it is rough, which guess what? Our first episode was rough. It was rough, right? And
our trailer
was rough.
I mean, it took us almost 4 hours.
4 hours to do, right? And because it feels different, than something generated. Because if we just had a generated trailer of our voices, oh my God, I guarantee it would sound like robots. I guarantee, and it would sound so cheesy, and it honestly just wouldn't be like, hey guys, this is our podcast. Listen.
No, I mean, it's one of these things like you don't get better by skipping like the harder parts. Like
we had to get
when you struggle through those bad ideas and you're figuring it out, like that's what builds you as a creative person.
Think about it. I mean, I think both of us can agree that, I think in some ways, I'm not saying like, him and I would go on a stage and start like publicly speaking to like thousands of people right now. But I think, through like what
We'd
we're
probably
doing,
be better at it than we would 3 years ago.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I agree with you. I think now that we've been doing this for so long that it's definitely helped us grow as individuals as well as, being able to, talk with other people and like, being able to like talk to maybe there would be a bigger crowd or something like that. But I think that we've grown because of our experience doing this.
By doing.
By doing.
Not just like delegating, whether it's like through AI, like, well, I want to do a podcast, but I really don't want to speak. So I'm going to write out like the notes and just have AI completely do the script and have them like this AI avatar say everything that I want to say.
If you think about it, when we first started, we didn't use AI. This was
we didn't.
All us. Like we had to think about every little thing, and then we had to brainstorm. We had to think about like what are some of the topics we want to talk about. I mean, it wasn't honestly until probably like a year or so ago that we really started to do all this. Like we did.
Like I said, I mean, the notes maybe like are 50. It's like 50-50 because like I'll add a lot in just from my own experience and my own creativeness. Like I'll add stuff in there. And like most of it's like just not from ChatGPT because it's like I said, it's pulling from what's already there. And a lot of times, like what we're looking at right now are just literal bullet points. Like it's not like I'm looking at a script and I'm reading it word for word right now. Like we have bullet points.
Yeah, it's because a lot of this, and this is why, like I know Matt, originally he was like, I hate when you do improv. Well, that's what you normally do in a podcast, or really anything that is just or basically original. Is like you have to expect the unexpected, or really the unpredictability of all this stuff. All this is a lot of improv. I mean, you're doing it on the fly,
right?
Because you're thinking about it. And I told him, I said, I love doing it because you never know what the fuck comes out of, talking with two people.
And I'll say this, like I'll skip to this mastery thing because there's one word in that whole list between iteration, failure, and refinement. It's failure. Like when you're trying to be creative and you're trying to create, sure, like it's the struggle, it's the problem solving, it's the repetition, it's continuing to do it. Like I play bass guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say like I'm at the professional level, but I certainly can hold a tune. You know what I mean? Like I can play pretty well, but it's only through that repetition and the problem solving and that figuring it out and the failure that you learn from your mistakes. It's not instant output. It's that repetition and the skill building and playing and doing. When I started, like I did not know how to play bass. at all.
Just like most people.
I put piano stickers all up and down the neck of my bass. And I legit, I mean, this is how old I am. I'm kind of dating myself here,
He's
but
like, hold on a second.
I had chord sheets with cassette tapes, John.
Woo-hoo, look at that cassette tape.
So I would put the cassettes in my cassette player and I would hit play. I would look at the chord sheet. I would look at the neck and go, okay, G. Okay, there's the D and there's the B. Okay, there's A. And I literally would just go through the song and go through each chord sheet hitting just the solid notes. That's it. And I am at a place now where like I can move around the neck and I can improvise like what I'm playing, but you don't get to point Z. And I don't think I'm at point Z. I'm like maybe like M or N. So somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
But like you don't get to the point where I am now if you don't start with A.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because
and working through all of these things of like, you know, I started with one church and I went to another and like their level of playing was much higher than mine. And I had to learn how to play differently. I mean, we were playing like secular songs to start out and having to like look up certain songs and like look up the tabs and be like, there's no fucking way I'm playing this, dude. Like,
well, and the other thing is, I remember you saying a while back, because you were like, oh, because I told him a while back that I wanted to start learning the audio piece to not even just the podcast, but like other things. Like, well, you know, all I did was just go on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But I said, I have a tutor, as in like I have meaning I was talking about Matt at the time. And I said, he's like, well, yeah, but I had to learn the hard way. And I said, I understand all that. I'm not saying that I can't go on YouTube myself and do it. But I said, because you're kind of already there and you've been doing it for so long, why would I go to YouTube if I have somebody here, you know, to be able to like show me like certain things? And he's like, yeah, but I'm like, all right, fine. And I was
this is like, I mean, this is opposed to like just being like, hey, you know, you know this skill. Why don't you, you know, walk alongside me and show me some stuff? You know, yes, I learned a lot of what I did practically because I was doing sound at church, and I've learned how to use a soundboard, like what goes into an EQ, how to mix sound. I have that experience from doing it at church. But I also learned a lot from YouTube as far as like, you know, what is an EQ? Like, how do I use it? What are the frequencies? Like, I've learned over the years. But these are the things that people are just going right to ChatGPT and going like, teach me how to run sound. Oh, sure, ChatGPT could tell you.
Right, but it's not going to show you. Because you're right, because all it is doing is letting you know, like, hey, it will tell you what to do or how to run it maybe, but like you still have to physically do it. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I understand that there are apps that allow you to do certain things and tweak, you know, songs or, you know, images or whatever. But what we're saying is that you have to physically do it. Like you can't just rely on this one thing to do it because, like I said, if you had what we call a SME, subject matter expert, right? You have people that know these skills because either they've been doing it for so long or they understand how it works and all this other stuff like that.
And I actually had one of those, you know, Rory was one for me for Photoshop and doing the graphic design pieces and doing that. Like I was under him for a while, where I learned a lot about Photoshop. I learned a lot about graphic design and but why don't we start like kind of wrapping this up? We'll get to our Evolve Blueprint Challenge.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, what about we got a little riff fuel here, you know, a little so here's some questions. You know, I'll start with this first one. Would you rather make something mid that's yours, or would you rather something perfect that isn't?
For me personally, I would rather have something that's mine.
And hopefully that's the question for everyone. Like you should want to make your own thing and not rely on this, because why wouldn't you feel proud?
Now, if I'm in a rush.
No, I understand if you're in a rush, maybe you're like, I don't really give a shit. Give me something.
Yeah. But I would rather have something that's slightly imperfect.
Yeah.
That I know is like, you know what, this is mine. I own it. If it sucks, it sucks because I did it.
Right.
but I would rather have that than have something that like looks perfect, but I can't claim it because it's like, well, I just put a prompt in and it just came out that way. Um, I think the last one for me is like, at what point does using tools turn into outsourcing your brain?
Mm.
Like, when do you get to the point where are you actually using your brain creatively or has your brain shut down?
So, in the sense of what we're talking about, you know, I feel like this is a harder one to answer a lot of the things, but, using the tools that are provided, right? Like we said, it can be useful. It can be helpful when you want to try to make something that is maybe yours. But in the sense of like, what the question is asking, when you start to think to yourself like, am I using it every single moment of every single day of every whatever? That's when you hopefully would start to think to yourself like, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to back off a little bit and say, you know what? I can create my own ideas and I can do this, but maybe,
It's a
right?
great tool, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, AI is a really addictive tool
It
to be
can
like.
be.
But when you stop thinking for yourself and you have to like, well, let me ask ChatGPT what they feel about it. No, no, no. I didn't ask you to ask ChatGPT about what it feels like. I
What do
asked
you feel?
you
Yeah. What do
what
you feel
you
about
think
this?
about this. Why do you feel about this? Like, it would be like me asking John, like, hey, how do you feel about this movie? And he just goes,
Let me ask
oh, let me ask
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. And then he goes, oh, I feel like this movie was, and he gives me this AI schlop for 5 minutes. And I go, that's not your opinion.
Yeah, you're
You're
just
just
copying it.
you're just repeating what ChatGPT said. Like, what was your actual opinion on this movie? Like, not what ChatGPT just said.
Listen, the original Mortal Kombat movie can go shuckle the dick for my purpose. He's like, yeah, shut up, we're not going there. But so yes, let's get into our evolved
Yes.
blueprint
So this
challenge.
is using AI without losing your creativity. So the goal is to stay creative while using AI as a tool, not a crutch. So step one, start without AI. Wow, that's a concept right
That
there,
is a
right?
concept.
So force yourself to create something first, even if it's rough, messy, or bad. This keeps your creative muscle active, right? Like you're starting it without like whether you have to grab a notebook or a sketchbook and you're just brainstorming ideas.
Right? Pros and cons, like all the different
Right.
things that you learn in school, like problem
Create
solving.
something first, even if it's messy, whatever. The goal is to create something. You start somewhere.
Right. And now step two, right? So use AI as a modifier. Bring your idea to AI to expand, refine, or brainstorm. Not replace, but enhance. And that's what we've been also driving in this message. So,
Yes.
in the sense of like what Matt was just saying, so even if your idea is bad, okay, maybe whatever, at least you created it, you did something with it. You're like, okay, so now how do I refine this? How do I enhance this so that it can look maybe a little like maybe a lot better and maybe like it's a movie about a dog who just got shot. Well, I mean that is pretty sad. But maybe we can refine that a little bit and try to
Right.
make it better.
How do we enhance it? You're not saying like, hey, can you this just sucks. Can you make it better? Like that's not what we're saying. We're saying use your idea and bring it to AI to expand it, to refine it, to brainstorm. And step 3, reclaim the final product. So whether you bring it there and it gives you an output, now you're rewriting it, you're redrawing it, you're graphicalizing it. That's probably not even a word. But
Regraphicalize it.
you're adjusting it, you're adding your own tone because if it sounds too clean, it's not your tone yet. It's not yours yet. So you reclaim this final product, you rewrite it, you redraw it, you regraphicalize it.
I love that word. Regraphicalize it. Yes.
Yeah. And
And
you add your own spin, your own tone, your own little twist. Like that's what makes it become yours again.
And then step 4, right? You got to limit full AI creation. So in this case, if AI makes 100% of this something that you want to create, you didn't actually create it, right? Because you use full generation sparingly and it's not as your default. And so going back to what Matt said, you're reclaiming it first, but in the sense of now you're going back into, let's say, AI. you're not letting AI do everything for you. You ask it certain questions. Maybe you ask it to do certain things, and maybe you do different variations of it, or whatever. You're also brainstorming with AI, because maybe the first idea that it even though like you reclaimed it and you redraw it, you do whatever. So maybe it's like you said, it's still maybe in that first step again. But now you're bringing it back. You're looking at different alterations, maybe different things, trying to figure out different ideas and seeing if like that makes the most sense, or if this doesn't make sense, whatever. You're you're also
Right.
limiting how you say it, so that way at the end of the day it is still your idea.
The goal is not to have AI making the thing.
Correct.
Whether you're writing, whether it's a picture, whether it's like, I want to write a children's book, and you have AI do 100% of the artwork. No. Like, you need to start somewhere. Like, it certainly can help you, but like, you need to start somewhere. Like, you want to write a children's book.
Don't worry, I'll draw you stick figures all day. I have no
John
problem
will
with that.
write you. John will draw you stick figures all day.
No problem with that one.
So step number 5: train without it. And this is, I think, the key step. Do creative work with zero AI involved. You keep your baseline skill set intact. And if you're wanting to be a writer and you want to write, start with fan fiction.
Right.
Start somewhere, like just write. Do not go to ChatGPT or Claude or any of those. Like, just, even if you pull out a friggin' notebook, you know what I mean? Like, use a
Write
pen
something down.
and just write what comes out of your head and what comes out of your heart. Like, you just write. The more you do, the better you become at it. It's when
Wow.
you turn to ChatGPT and you go, yeah, this really just sucks. Can you just make it yours? And then it becomes not yours anymore, because ChatGPT is going to turn around and go, well, this is what's bad about it. This is what's bad. This is like the fixes that I'm saying to do. And they're like, well, this isn't really mine anymore. Like, it's yours.
Well, here's another thing, Matt. What is our motto again for Evolve?
Adapt, overcome.
Evolve, adapt, overcome.
Right.
And so that's also another thing that you could bring up. Like, guess what? You evolve as you're doing it.
I feel like when you ask me these questions, like I should know the answer to them,
You
and I
should.
feel like I don't.
I don't understand why.
You're
I
like,
said, what is the
What
motto?
is our motto? And I'm like, adapt,
Adapt,
overcome.
You're like, why did I?
You're like,
sound
evolve,
like
adapt, overcome. That's what it is, folks. Like,
that's what we're doing. No,
Anyway, yeah.
no. My point is to that is that when you look at it, like as we're saying, right, you're evolving as you're doing this process. You're adapting because now you've failed. You've understood what is wrong, and now you can hopefully adapt to get that
right.
final product. And then you're overcoming these obstacles while you're doing it, because it is messy. It is not the greatest thing on the
It's
planet.
meant to be messy. It's meant to stretch you and to grow you. You don't grow by things that are just easy.
Correct.
Like, you do your baseline work without AI, and it forces you into that, like, well, this is really messy. And maybe you do turn to AI and be like, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. Help me. Help me. Help me.
Help me.
But
and
like the core principle of this, like, blueprint challenge is like, if AI does the thinking, you lose the ability to think creatively. If AI supports your thinking, then you get better.
Right. And that's what we've been saying this entire episode. And basically everything we ever do is because all we're trying to do as human beings, as hopefully the goal, right, is you want to become a better version of yourself and to become something that you can define and not let AI define you. Ah, look at that. See, because you don't want AI to define you, because guess what? AI doesn't know shit when it comes to knowing who you
Actually,
are.
I think AI knows us pretty well.
He's like, well, I mean, in the sense of what we do.
Remember when we asked that question? We asked that
God.
question, and it knew us pretty well, actually.
Well, because of how many prompts that you wrote
Yeah,
to
that's
kind of explain our podcast. But no, but really, right? AI isn't just killing creativity. But how we might be able to use it, right? And so because there's a difference between building something and just asking for it, right? So the real question is, are you still creating? Or are you just generating? Because that is basically what we were saying this entire episode, and basically everything we ever do, is because right now there are more generators than there are creators.
Right.
and the sad truth of things.
And there's a difference between like whether you're just fucking off and having fun, as opposed to like you're trying to create a business or you're trying to create a social, you know, following, and you're only using AI. Like there's a difference. Like I'm doing the AI music just to fuck off. Like
Oh,
I
yeah, it's completely.
if I ever did it because I was like, hey, I really want to create an AI band and make real music, there to me that there's no point.
No, there is no point.
I would rather make real music than do that. But like AI shit show is just fucking off. It's just like
It
having
is
fun with
completely-
AI.
Yeah,
And I'm actually planning a second one, which
Of course you are. Is it
But-
AI shit show too, or is it?
it is AI shit show too.
I
Yeah.
knew it. Yeah. No, and that's what we're saying is like, when you look at the bigger picture, right? AI, as Matt said recently, or at least a little bit ago, is that it's not going anywhere, and it's not also going to be. And right now, it's not pretty. Right now, it's just this big pile of. Sometimes it looks like dog shit, depending on which way you look at it. But it's definitely something that, sure, with time, it's going to get better. And in time, there's going to be things that we're going to be like, holy shit, I did not expect that out of AI. And it's going to get to a point where basically every original idea, it's not going to be original anymore. It's going to be just generated
No.
shit that we're always going to look at. And that's just how it's going to be. So hopefully, whoever's listening, when you look at AI and you're thinking about trying to do something different than other people, make sure you're doing it for yourself and not because of what AI is trying to tell you. Like maybe get that idea, write it down, talk to AI and say, hey, does this make sense? Or is there another better approach? Right? Figure it out on your own first. Figure out whatever that passion is, whatever that goal or that purpose or whatever that might be for you. Then you work on fine-tuning it and doing all those steps that we were talking about. But anyways, because I know we've definitely been talking for so long now, but yes, as we've always said, just follow us, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, do all that fun stuff. Check us out. You know where to find us on that good old social media, platforms and all that stuff. But anyways, until next time, boys and girls.